right, so we have today as essay. This is a very large topic, but we will try to give you some practical things that we can go through. Okay. All right. In an essay, we have up here some steps that you would need to go through when you are deciding to write any kind of paper, whether it's a short one or a long one. We have different areas of writing that we'll try to give you some examples of. I have some more handouts and digital files that we will pass out at the end. And so then if you would like to get some of the digital files or the copied notes, then we'll try to make that arrangement at the end of today, okay? All right, in an essay, you have, again, different lengths of essays. It could be whether it's 3 paragraphs or it could be 10 or 20 pages. Some of you, these principles or truths that we're going to go through, they can be applied to any different subject that you're writing. So if you're writing about something political, social, religious, whatever kind of writing that you're doing, we can go through the same process, okay? The first step, of course, is to ID your topic. That may seem fairly easy, but sometimes when you go to write, you have a hard time deciding what you want to actually write about. And so it often takes work just to decide what your main topic is. And when we say your topic, this is not a large general topic. It should have some focus. So you should have some purpose in that topic. We don't just say, I'm going to write on environmental issues. You need to choose something in that environmental issues. What area are you going to do? And so many times when you're thinking to write, you have lots of different ideas. You have in one topic, if we say we had last week you had a special conference, and so you say, okay, we're going to write on logic. Well, as you heard, it can be a very large topic. So you need to choose something in there that you're going to speak on or write on. Once you ID your topic, then you understand your audience. So if you are speaking to a certain age group, if they have a common interest, you need to say, okay, who is going to actually read this? Who do you want to read it? If you don't choose that ahead of time, then it may be a very small group of people who will actually want to read it. If you want more people to read it, you need to say, okay, I want people in these countries or in this age group or in this political, they understand this type of political system, or if it's in a religious system, you say this is a group of people that are going to read this. When you often write for a publication, so understand who reads that publication. If it is a magazine that goes out to, say, 10,000 subscribers, who are those subscribers? What is their interest? Why do they subscribe to that magazine? Or if it's some other publication, even if it's a newspaper. In a newspaper, you say, okay, find out from the newspaper who actually reads these columns. What kind of interest do they have? Is it in a geographic area? If it's a larger area, then why are they reading this publication? So the better you understand your audience, the more people will read it because they will feel the attachment and say, I have an interest in what is being written. If you don't understand your audience, you'll be writing, and the people that are actually going to see it, they say, why should I read this? They read the first couple lines and they say, I don't have any interest, and they skip it. So in the beginning of your writing, you have to attract those people to continue reading what you have written. Then third step is to focus and refine your topic. So we have you chosen your topic. You said, okay, say if we do logic, as was spoken on this past week. So inside of that topic, you've heard many different people speak on different points. So then you say, okay, in this area, I'm going to write and research. Even on there, you have to focus it, because even in one area, you say, okay, I have all of these topics I might go into. As you might have heard some of the moderators, the questions or the topic might go off into a different way. So they have to bring it back onto focus. What are we actually presenting? So you have to do this also in your writing. It's very easy. As you're writing, you start talking about something else, and you say, well, this is very interesting, but maybe it's not attached with your main topic. So you really look through what you have written down. You've put ideas. Say, are all of these connected, or are some of these too far from my subject? Creating a bibliography, this is saying, okay, where did you get your information from? Whenever you do something international publication, you must cite your references. It's very important to say, okay, this phrase, this sentence, I got from this person, this book, wherever you got it from. What this does is this helps you with credibility. People can trust what you've written and say, okay, this is actually from someone else, and this is their writing, their speaking. So they can separate what is yours and what is someone else's. If everything that you write is just from someone else, then people are not going to trust you so much. So you need to show them what is mine and what is someone else's. And then you note that properly. Sometimes as you're doing your research and your writing, you find out that you get information from so many different places. And you forget, oh, where did I read that? It was in this other book, this other chapter. I know it was here, but what chapter was it in? And so if you find it off the internet, make sure you keep a note. Where did you get that from? As you might have heard, we heard some of the presenters and those who are asking questions this last week. They would say, well, this person from a certain monastery said this. Well, how do we know? Was it published or not? And so that's why you have to go back to what is actually written and recorded, not just someone that you heard, or someone spoke it over here. So you need to know exactly where you got your information from. Even in the U.S. right now, there was a presidential debate yesterday. And what happens is, a lot of times when they were speaking, they don't say where they got the information from. They just say, you said this, you did this, but they're not proving it. They have no information to back it up. And often, you go back and you find out what was said is not really matching to what took place. So it's a little bit confused. So it's very important to create that as you are gathering your information. Number 5, you have evaluate your resources. Sometimes your resources are more credible. people will listen to them more. Some they've never heard about. Maybe you take from a certain magazine. No one knows about the magazine. So find places or sources that people will actually say, this has authority. I will listen to what this has to say. So watch your sources. If maybe you say, okay, it came from here, but did someone else check that topic? So you are finding sources, you're researching this area. So let's give another example and say, if you're dealing in India and you're dealing with some kind of, a couple weeks ago there was a thing for cleanup. Modi was pushing some cleanup area. We need to clean our area, clean the village, clean our personal space. So we're looking and saying, okay, we need to do this. These people are doing this project over here. We need to write about our personal responsibility. But you need to make sure you take notes about the discussions you're having. So maybe you talked with someone else, but then later you did not write down, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to talk about this, and then you might get crossed and then you're doing the same thing. Or maybe you're actually saying different things. And so you need to make sure that you're taking notes on whatever you are writing about. When you're writing, you'll have lots of different notes, because you'll have of different points that you're going to write about. Every paragraph has a different thought. And so in that paragraph, you are thinking, okay, I found this resource and this, I want to talk about this point. But you might have more information. So then you have all these different things that you found. Make sure that you, and as you're reading, as you're researching, you'll think about different ideas. So always make sure that you're writing those down. And then course 7 is organize. When you take all of your thoughts, organize them into a good process. Your presentation needs to be one that people can follow. If they're not able to follow it, then they're saying, okay, how does this paragraph give any addition or describe this better? They say, well, you wrote these pages, but then this one is not really matching, and we're saying, why did they include this? So many times it's how you organize your thoughts. What do you say first? What's most important? What is attached to something else? So as you have your main points, okay, what's attached to this? What needs to go in a different area? You again have the different parts of your writing. So you have your introduction, your main body, your conclusion. You have different ways of writing your main body. Your introduction always needs to grab the attention of the readers. Your conclusion needs to tell them why you've written all of this. Why did I read all this? What's the purpose? Your main body has the points that you are focusing on. Again, it does not matter the length of it. It could be 3 paragraphs, it could be 10 pages. But the format is the same. Once you organize your thoughts and say, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about first, this needs to go at the end, and you say, okay, we have to describe this process first before I can mention this. So you organize them carefully, then you write it into your first draft. You should never publish something that you have not written at least 3 or 4 times. You never publish a first draft, because there will always be mistakes. It does not matter how good a writer you are, you will always have mistakes. There will be mistakes in the grammar, the spelling, connecting your sentences, an order where a thought should have been in a different place. There will be always mistakes. So you write your first draft. Then after you write it, you have to go through and you have other people also look at it. Not just you. You should always have someone else looking at what you've written, but they need to know what you are trying to say. You don't just give it to someone, they have no idea of the topic. There's been many times I've received a thesis from a PhD student of BHU, and they give me their paper for me to check, and I have no idea what they're talking about. So I can correct some spelling, I can correct some grammar, but that does not help me to organize. Maybe something is in the wrong place. They need to know what the subject is, not just English. And so you need to have different people look at it. Also, as you edit it, make sure that you are editing it for the better, not making it worse. Sometimes when you go to edit things, it sounds worse than it did the first time. So look at the notes. Why is something wrong? Why does someone say you need to change this? Understand those reasons why. Then you'll know how to adjust and to revise it. Normally this should take you at least 2 to 3 times. So when you revise and edit whatever you're writing, you should at least do it 2 to 3 more times. So when you're finished, you would have written or looked through it 4 to 5 times. Then you'll probably have a good paper or essay or something else. But again, if you write it the first time, you will always have mistakes. When we do this sometimes in testing for English, when they have, it's called an IELTS exam, they have to write 150 words and then another one 250 words in 1 hour. They only have to write 400 words. But most of the time they're having problem because in that 150 words they can write a lot, but it may not be correct. And so what they're looking for is, in English, what we often do is we say we want to write more in less. So you need to write more thoughts, more words. You say your ideas, your topic, your points. Try and write as much of that in less words as possible. Good writing has good content, not just writing a bunch of words. The standard for international writing is not saying, okay, I wrote 50 pages. It's what is in those pages that matters. Often your very good speakers, international speakers, they can speak for 10 or 20 minutes and it's the same as someone else who are speaking 1 hour, because they're able to say more in less words. And so that is what we say is a good sign of writing. You're able to say more things in less. That also means that your vocabulary, choosing the right vocabulary, which you could take a whole sentence, but in a couple words you can say the whole thing. That's why many times if you listen to certain lectures, the vocabulary might be hard to catch because they're using more difficult vocabulary to give the idea of the whole thing. We also use other things that create pictures. And so as you use examples and pictures, that can say more than saying a whole paragraph. So I can use a short example or picture and say, I give an example of a situation, then I don't have to describe the whole thing. I just give a short example and they understand everything you're trying to say. And so that's what you do as you go through your revision and your edits. You're going through to see where have I repeated. I've repeated words, I've repeated thoughts. I need to cut that out. And then your final step up there is cite references. And so creating your bibliography and your references can be a little bit different. But again, this is when you get to the very end. So whether your essay is short or it's long, we can go through these same steps. All right, there's as you're writing your essay, of course, there are three main parts. Your introduction. In your introduction, the purpose of your introduction is to get as many listeners or readers as possible to actually want to read what you have written. And so we make it like a funnel, and so you go wide and then to narrow whatever your topic is. So you, in your introduction, you want to create an interest from other people who may not read what you're writing about, but because of your introduction, it gets them an interest and say, maybe I want to learn about this. Maybe there's something interesting here. I like what they studied. I want to see what they actually found out. So in your introduction, you have to be broad to get people's interest, and then you focus them down to what you actually wrote about and say, so we have some different examples of that, but what you'll do is if you wanted to write about, like I said, we mentioned this area of logic. If you want to write about a certain specific area and you're going to write an essay, most people would not have an interest. Very few would actually have an interest in reading 10 pages on the subject, or even 2 pages. But if you create your introduction in a way that the common person would say, this sounds interesting, I never thought of this before, and so that gets their curiosity and say, I want to read what is here. Then what you've written will actually be read. You know, what is the purpose of writing if no one reads it? There's a lot of things out there, and we say that this is the information age because you can find millions of articles that are being published every day. But what is actually read? If you want what you are writing about in your research for someone to get the benefit, you have to create an interest in people that will actually read it. The same thing is true if you are watching a film or a movie. If it's, we say, is a flop and no one had an interest, why is it? Because the presentation was not good. The storyline was not good. Sometimes what they're talking about may be something good, interesting, but how it was presented may not have been the best way. Often, when you go and look through a newspaper, most of us would never read every article in the newspaper. You say, what makes you read certain articles? It's because of something that was in the headline or in the first couple sentences, and you say, this is interesting, I'll read it. But in the very beginning, if you don't get that interest, most people will just skip it and go to the next one. So our purpose in writing is to share with someone else our ideas or information that we found out. It's research work that we've done. But if no one reads it, then there's no purpose. And so you need to get whatever you're writing, it should have a purpose. If you don't have a purpose in writing, then why are you writing? And so as you're writing, understand the purpose. This goes to understanding your audience. So as you create the introduction, you have to know your audience. Who is actually going to see this? Create the interest in what you're writing. Sometimes you have to use a story. Sometimes you have to use an event or a common everyday problem. Some people use a little bit of comedy. But there has to be something that's general that will attract you to what was written. Right, in your introduction, the purpose is to get as many readers as possible to actually read what you've written. That's the purpose of the introduction. So many times I have read introductions and they go directly into the topic, and there is no introduction. An introduction does not go directly into the topic and said, this is the topic for my paper and this is what I found out. You don't go directly into your topic. There should be a couple sentences before that's kind of general that will attract people to actually read it. And then in your introduction, you are going to have a purpose. Why should I actually read this? Why should I spend 10 minutes, an hour reading this? You need to state the purpose. And so then you'll say, okay, here's a benefit. If you read this, here's a benefit. So this is what I found out. This is what was researched. This is something that will benefit this group of people. And so then you can say, okay, there is a purpose and a reason why I should actually read it. After you have your introduction, you have your main body. In your main body, you have lots of different thoughts. Every paragraph should only have one main thought. You never have more than one main thought in a paragraph. So whenever I'm critiquing or checking writing like this, you're looking to see what is the main thought. Do the other sentences support it, or is it completely different? So you should have supporting elements. You should have examples that are all attaching to your main point. Example of a main point. You say if when you are focusing and refining your topic, you will have different subcategories or topics inside of your paper. So every paragraph should have a focus. If it's confusing, if there's more than one main thought, people are not going to know how to follow what you've written. It'll be confusing to them. There is an area here which we go into is your connection. We will talk about this here is your linking words. This is a handout that we can give because the type is a little bit small. Let me get this larger. All right, in your linking words, let me come up here. Okay, in your paragraphs, from paragraph to paragraph, you need to link your thoughts. And so there's different ways of linking your thoughts. And so inside of a paragraph and from paragraph to paragraph. This is very important in your essay. Without these transition words, we also call these signpost words. This helps the reader know where you're going. It's like a map or direction. Where are you going in your writing? And so in different paragraphs, sometimes you will have, this one is agreement, addition, or similarity. So all of these words here are doing that. So we've got, all right, so we have in the first place, not only, but also, as a matter of fact, again, equally, likewise. All of these are in the same category. And so what we say also in good writing, you do not repeat. You should not use the word and over and over again. Many sentences, many things I have checked writing, they use the same linking words over and over again. They don't have variety. And so some people like to use the word but, like. They use the same ones all the time. So what you need to do is what you go through in your writing, this is when you are revising and checking your writing. Am I repeating or is it different? So also there's a purpose. In these linking words, there's a purpose. Why do I use these linking words? Okay, if I come down here, you can see this is for if you're going to use an example. You have your main thought, but now I'm going to support my main thought with something. And so I can use important to realize, especially, such as, for example, most people, if they're going to use an example, they always use the same thing. They use, for example, for instance, but you need to use a variety of linking words. They do the same thing, they act the same way, but you should use a variety. And so this paper that we'll give you shows you all these different ones. Again, over here, cause, condition, and purpose. A lot of times the ones that are very popular are if, because, but there's many other options. Not the same thing. All right? So this is one way that you go through in your main body of your essay. Check and see how are you connecting your thoughts. Because there's a lot of different ways you connect your thoughts and a reason why you connect. Sometimes it's in opposition or contradiction. So you're showing opposites. Sometimes you're showing comparison. Sometimes you're showing that there's a sequence. All of these have a function. So use a variety of writing as you are making your essay, as you're doing your construction. Say, okay, I've got these points over here. Now, am I going to compare them or am I going to show them as similar? Am I showing them that there's a sequence Or am I showing that there's a cause? So you look at your paragraph and say, how are you constructing it? And then that is the type of words that you need to use to join your thoughts. You have two different types of joining. We call, you have paragraph to paragraph, and then you have from your sentences to sentences inside the paragraph. So how do you link your thoughts? So this is very important in your writing. How do you link your thoughts? So if you're not linking them properly, whoever is reading or listening gets all confused. They say, why are these two ideas together? Why did you put that in the same paragraph? And then if you go to the next paragraph, you're saying, well, how does this paragraph follow this previous one? And you're saying, how did you jump from this thought to this other thought? And so it's very important that we use the correct linking words. Then there's a good flow in our presentation and our writing. All right, again over here you have, here's another one called conjunctions. And so you've got, again, some people use the same ones. That, which, but you can use rather than, as long as, by the time. So use some different kind of words here. All right. But again, these will pass out, and you'll have some of these. Okay. All right. So inside of your main body, you've got your connecting, how you connect your thoughts and your paragraphs. At the end, now you have your conclusion. Your conclusion should be a summary of everything that you wrote. You should be able to state however many pages or long your essay is, you should be able to state that in one or two paragraphs. If you write in one page, you should be able to give your conclusion in just 2 or 3 sentences. If you're not able to give a conclusion or a summary of everything that you wrote in a simple way, then most people would not understand your whole paper. The thing about writing is that sometimes you have to give all the details, but you also have to make it simple. As you make it simple, and you can say it in a concise, short manner, then the common person can understand why you wrote this essay. What is the purpose? What are you trying to say? Many times, as I read other examples, I read short papers, I get to the end, and they just stop. It's not really a conclusion. You know, sometimes if you watch a movie, and you get to the end of the movie, and the conclusion is not good, what happens to the audience? The audience says, that was a waste of time. Why did we watch this movie? Or they feel and say, that wasn't a good ending. Your conclusion is very important to being successful in writing. The most important thing in writing is your introduction and your conclusion. Your introduction is to get as many readers as possible. Your conclusion is to give in a very simple way what you're writing about, what's your purpose. You know, I believe it was Einstein that talked about, if you cannot explain it to a child, then you don't understand it well enough yourself. So whatever you're writing about, if you cannot explain it to a child and they can understand, then you still need to study more. you still need to know how to present it properly. So if I'm listening to something and it goes over my head and I don't catch it, then we need to explain it more simply. And normally what that does is that means that you need to go back and study it to where you can give a very simple explanation for it. You know, if you were to explain some deeper knowledge of some law, you say physical law, it might take a whole lot of writing and detail to actually explain it. But if you can't give a simple example and say, here's how it works, then no one's going to understand it. And so in your writing, you need to be able to, yes, give the details, give the academic level, but also give it in a very simple way. All right, so through your essay, we have our basic construction. We have our points that we talked about. So you've got our basic process. We've got the three main parts of your essay, the purpose for each one, and then you have your actual publication. You've got to be able to do it in a way that you can do a short form and a long form. So whatever your essay is, if you have a 10-page essay, could you write the same essay in 1 page? If you have a 1-page essay, do you have enough material to write 20 pages on it? And so as you're doing your essay, you should be able to do both ways. If you don't have enough content to fill a bunch of pages, then your 1 page will probably not sound very interesting. If you have a long essay and you cannot say it in a short form, then probably no one's going to read the long one. So you should be able to do both ways in your essay. Okay, we have a lot of different examples. We have some things that we will go through. We're going to take some questions. There are some things that we will be handing out to you. There are some examples of we call boring style and interesting style. What makes things boring and what makes things interesting? You need to. A lot of this is your description. You say your adjectives, your use of description, use of your senses. Are you able to get people to touch, feel, smell what you're writing about? Or is it just abstract and then you cannot connect with it? And so it needs to be something interesting and include these different things into your writing. And so we have some different examples here. The sentences, is it interesting? Is it not? Is it starting with your subject? Is it not? You know, there's different types of sentences. How you construct your sentences. If you always start with the same format, or if you give a variety of sentences. We have working with your main ideas as you go through your different drafts, your first, second, third draft, describing people, using habits, characteristics, qualities, as you're describing people or things. And so all of these are aspects in your writing, but good writing will connect with people. It gets them involved, they can feel connected, and there's an interest. All right? Okay, I think our time is about done. We'll go ahead and move into a time of question and answers.
Um, Thank you very much, Mr. Chadman. He is our teacher, English teacher. Most students who know, and but many students may not know. And I really would like to say thank you, Mr. Chadman. Give us such a wonderful lecture, and on the topic how to write an essay. We choose this topic because actually there is a many, profound topic, but we choose a little simple one because we have to start on a basis because we don't know. Usually we write as a poems and story in English, but there's many errors, grammatical mistakes are there. We are not native speakers, so there's many mistakes. So I think this is better to start in a simple topic, uh, and we have half hour to question and answer. And anyone who has a question about how to write an essay, the topic which Mr. Chadman mentioned right now, if anyone who have doubt, any kind of doubt, but please ask one question and very uh, what we don't need much, your opinions and long question. Please ask in a simple and very specific way. Thank you very much. After that, we have dinner. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Uh, Actually, I have a question, but before going to my question, uh, I would like to. I would like. Can you introduce yourself to us? Because I think it is very important to know, or to know the speaker. So
Okay.
please, can you introduce, like, where you're from and where you have studied your basic educations, whatever, and then I would like to ask my question.
Okay. Well, many of you I recognize from classes we are already doing. So I am teaching with the Shastri and Acharya in some English that is after lunch. And so we are doing some special English classes for conversation and speaking. I'm from the U.S. in a place called Wyoming. It's a mountain area, much like Tibet. There's very few people. It's cold about 6 to 8 months of the year. And so I grew up in that kind of environment, and so I can appreciate those that are from the area. I have been in India for about 11 years. We've been in Varanasi about 8 years, and I'm here with my family. My wife and I have been married for 19 years, and we have 5 children, and they're also living here with us in Varanasi.
Thank you very much. And now, uh, okay. Number four. What is the difference between uh, uh, number 4 and number 5? I mean, create bibliography and evaluate resources. The number 4 and number 5.
Okay.
What is the difference between these 2 points?
Okay, creating a bibliography is when you look at a publication, at the bottom of the page, they'll often have a reference point. There'll be small numbers at the bottom of the page or at the end of the chapter. And so this is showing where you got your information from. Evaluating resources is looking at where you got this from, if it's credible, if you can trust it, if it's going to have respect or not. Some sources are not very good. Some sources are known for fake things. And so you need to be careful. Many times you might get some message from someone and they said, oh, there's this free thing that's available. But then you find out it's not free. Or you find out someone is giving away 100 iPhones. And then you find out it's not true. And so this is evaluating your resources of where you got your information from. Should you use that in your paper or not? Okay.
Good evening, sir. My question is, what is different between assignment and essay? Is there any necessity to this type of resource to assignment?
So assignment or
Yes.
essay?
Yes.
Okay. Assignment, I'm not sure what you're meaning by assignment. Can you tell me a little bit more what you mean assignment?
Sorry, we all are doing assignment, so
Okay.
we are not doing essay.
Okay.
So
So your assignment in the university,
yes,
so assignments would be, how long do you have to write in your assignment?
5 pages.
Okay. We would also call that an essay. Essay, we said an essay can be 1 page or it can be 50 pages. So an essay is giving information about a topic, and that you are giving details and information about a certain topic or a subject. Again, you can be a short form or you can be a long form. So as you are talking about for your assignments in your class, you can use the same process to do that writing. All of our writing should do the same thing, whether it's long or short. We should revise and edit. You should never just do an assignment and write it one time. You should always revise that and edit that so it can be a better quality.
My question is that what is the difference between article and essay?
Article and an essay.
Yes.
Articles are always short. So articles, if it's in a magazine, a newspaper, normally it's only about 1 page or less of writing. If you were to put it onto a page with maybe a 10 size font with no pictures, it would probably only fill 1 page. But what they do is in a magazine or a publication, they're going to change the width. They might make the font bigger. They might put pictures in there. And so if you look in a magazine, they have articles, but the length is not very long. It's still fairly short.
Good evening, sir. Sir, as you mentioned earlier, the introduction and conclusion is most important thing in writing the essay. But there's a still tinge of doubt in my mind.
Okay.
Because I usually feel that most important part of essay is main body. Because the thing that we are going to mention in the essay will be included in body, right? That's why, sir, I wish and I long to hear the explanation how the introduction and the conclusion is more important than body. Thank
Okay.
you.
Again, this comes back to who is actually going to read your writing. Your body may be good, it may have good information, but if no one reads it, then no one will know about your writing. So it's also the same thing like a movie. If the beginning and the end is bad, no one's going to watch the movie. The middle may be very good, but what people remember is the beginning and the end. Most people that are educated and who read a lot, normally they read the beginning first paragraph. If they say this is good, they read the conclusion. If they said the conclusion is good, they read the whole thing. Most people who read a lot do not read the whole thing. And so if you want important people to actually read what you've written, you must have a good introduction and conclusion.
Good evening, sir. Actually, I have two questions for you, sir. So I want to know, sir, there are so many writings like story, play, or some other writings, you know. But what make the differ from the essay? What is the specific quality of the essay? I want to know that, sir. And my second question is there any word limit on essay, or it could be a whole book or volume?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
The different types of writings, like a play, it's more about the language that's in there. Often a play or a production like that is going to have conversation, and so you have different dialogue with different people, and so the way of writing it is very different. In an essay, you're not going to have conversation. An essay is a presentation of your research, what you have studied. But the other types of writing are not going to be in the same format. So format is different. As far as the length of an essay, when we are talking about essay, we think of essay as the length can be very different. The purpose of an essay is to give other people, to communicate what you have researched and studied. And so again, it could be short, it could be long, but it should have a good flow from thought to thought, and there needs to be a purpose, and you would say proving your facts. What you've written, you're proving and saying, I got this from here, this person said this, here's what I found. So an essay is showing your research and kind of proving your point to people. So again, the length could be very different. All right.
Good evening, respected sir. I have very small questions for you. My questions: writing story and writing essay are different, right, sir? And so, if these are this different, then what kind of informations which is not mentioned in the story, or if these are the same, then what's the purpose of writing an essay? Thank you, sir.
A story is going to have a lot more. You say it's dealing a lot with time, sequence. You're talking about personal experiences in life. So a story, its basic construction is retelling life in history. An essay, again, goes back to more of the research, something that you've studied. An essay is not going to have a lot of story in it. It's not going to be retelling someone's story. You may put a short piece in there to give an example, but we're not going to be telling someone's life or history. Again, the essay goes more about your research, which is what you will use mostly in a university type writing. It's something that you have researched, you've studied a topic, you've read a book, and now you're going to present what you've learned and what you've studied. And so the difference, again, between story and essay is basically, you'd say, from research or for retelling life and time.
Good evening, sir. And I have one thing to ask you. I've just heard that you're teaching conversation and writing in the Shastri class, and I want to ask you, do you see any difference between essay which is written by American student and essay which are written by our student? And I have one little question that what we have problem is before we speak in English or before we write in English, whatever we do in English, we have to think in our own language, our own conversation. We have to think by our own language first, and then we start writing in English. Can we solve this problem?
Okay. For the past several years, I'd say about 3 years, I've been working mostly with students of BHU and that area, students who are studying in colleges or IT things in that area. And so I have seen a large difference between writing abroad and writing here. We have not done so much writing exercises here yet. We've only been doing just over a month, but I have done some with the faculty. I did some classes with the faculty before, and there's also some difference from writing there to writing abroad. Some of the things I mentioned already are some of the problems. There's a lot of repetition. The way of linking your thoughts. Often you're saying too many words that could be said in much less. Some of that goes to vocabulary. Some of it goes to expressions, being able to say something in a easier format. The problem of the conclusion is a big problem, because being able to say everything that you're trying to say in just a couple sentences. So you've studied all of this, you have all this information, but are you able to say that simply and short? So that needs to be worked on. Then, as far as translation, most of that comes from practice. The way that we teach language learning is you should not translate. Most thoughts and concepts are very difficult to translate from language to language. You know, there are some words in every language that when you say it in one language and you try and say that in the next one, most of the time you have to take a sentence or more to try and explain the same thought. And so that's very difficult when you go to translate. So you really need to think in the language. That will help you be much faster and smoother without hesitation and problems. And so that comes through practice, listening and speaking in the language. Without that practice, then there's always the hesitation. So we should never be translating. We need to actually think in the language.
Good evening, sir. I have a simple question. I saw three words: image, theme, moral. So what is different in those three words?
So image,
Theme of story,
theme,
moral.
moral.
Yeah.
So when you say image, you're talking about inside of your writing, or like a picture in writing. Okay, when we use an image in our writing, what you do is you create, in a couple words, you create that image in the reader's mind. You want to use descriptive words to create that image. And so if you were to use an expression, there's an image I heard from a certain movie in India, is in Hindi, and they use this expression that talking about themselves, saying that I'm like a dog's tail which cannot be straightened. So what does that do? It creates an image in our mind, but it's not talking about a dog's tail. It's talking about their personality and what's going on. So you use an image to tell much more. And so you can use this in your writing to create an image just with a few words. But the image is telling a lot more details and information without saying it directly. A theme is normally whatever is connecting your whole essay or writing. So that needs to be throughout everything. And so certain language or words that you would use needs to tie and connect all your paragraphs together. So then I say, this is the theme. So in this paragraph, I know it's connected with the other paragraphs by a certain word. And so your theme could be, like if you were to speak on, where we use example of logic. So if you were to use theme as your logic, you need to mention a small phrase or a word in each paragraph, but not repeat yourself. You don't repeat the same phrase in every paragraph. You say it a different way, but it's connecting all of them together. So that is your theme. Moral, there's a lot of, you say, moral stories. When I think about moral, this is like a truth that you are presenting, but it's not direct. You're not giving the truth or principle direct. You're kind of giving it in an understood way. That's a moral. But in an essay, we wouldn't use that very much. You might mention something there, but that's more in a different category, not directly in an essay type format.
Sir, I have one short question, but I don't know. My question is bad and good, sir. But sir, my question is, how might to essay writing, essay rules. is there any history backgrounds is there about how to writing essay?
Okay, so rules or background about writing essay. Um, generally, you say the background or rules of essay is what we would consider good writing. And so good writing, you can find that on the internet. You can find it in many different sources. But in Western thought and writing, what we value the most is that it needs to have content. You should not repeat, and you should be able to say more things in less. If you have all of those factors, you'll have good writing.
Hi, sir. It is a pleasure to have you here too, sir. My question is that are these points indispensable for every essay? And if yes, are these the proper order to write essay, or do we have to rearrange the points here? Thanks, sir.
We can use this process for every type of writing. Whether it's short or whether it's long, you could use this for. You have your essay. You could also use it for if you're doing different articles. You'd still use the same format because you need to organize it. You need to say where you got your information from. Again, mostly what we're talking about essay is that you've researched something. So if you've researched something, you've got information from somewhere. So you've got to say where you got the information from. We would not normally change this around. You might have to repeat something as you're writing. If it's a large topic, you might have to repeat certain steps over and over again. Like I said, you should never publish something that is written one time. You should always go through that several times. When you number 1, 2, and 3, that would probably be done one time, but you might have to go back again, focus and refine once you do more research. So some of these you might have to repeat again, but it's still the general process.
Good evening, sir. Here I have one question. Usually I had seen most articles seems like a reporting speech, so I want to ask that if have there any single difference between article and reporting speech?
Between article and
reporting speech.
Reporting speech.
Yes.
Okay. Article and reporting speech. When article is again normally a shorter form. So a shorter form is going to be in certain publications. You would say like your magazines, newspapers, quarterlies. Articles are in that type of format. They don't take a large portion of the publication. Reporting speech. I'm not sure if you're just talking difference between article or if you're talking conversation or which kind? News. If you're doing news, someone normally still has to write something. If it's not written and you're just speaking, then you have to just do this in your mind. A good speaker who is just speaking has to do some of these steps in their mind. They still have to organize, okay, from the information I have, what do I speak? Because if it's not organized, the same problem's going to happen. They're going to say, why are they mentioning this? How is that connected to what we're talking about? But often, most of that has some kind of preparation in advance, so they've gone through some process. If they've not done any preparation, then that is something, a skill that is practiced in your speaking. That is, speaking can be a different area, because that is a separate skill that you have to develop. Writing is you do preparation for writing. We just don't just write one time. So that might be a little bit different category.
Good evening to respected sir. Since I'm not a participant, but organizer has given me a chance to ask a question, so thank you so much for the organizer. And I want to ask difference between, is there any difference between writing a debate and speech writing with the essay writing, or is the structure can be used into this kind of writing style, or is there any main specific key like some difference between? So is there any specific difference between debate writing and the speech writing and the essay writing? Is there any key factor? If has, then please. And my second question is, I just want to ask, like, this must be experienced by many of us, because whenever we try to write an essay, some students or some people write on a specific topic. According to one specific topic, they try to write something else, right? So some of the students who normally didn't choose a specific topic, but they try to write their own self, their own feeling, without having any kind of specific topic. So if you have experienced this kind of way of writing before, then what will be the disadvantage and advantages of writing this two types of writing, like with having a specific title and without having a specific title? Thank you.
Okay. All right, for debate type speech, what you heard, most of your debate is going to be spoken verbally, not written. And so what you experienced this past week in debate was not normally written. You had a presenter who presented, but when you had questions or debate take place, it was not prepared. So debate is more of a spoken area, and so a spoken area has different rules than what we would say for the writing. Speech writing would be very similar to an essay. There are people who write speeches for, like, political people, when they go to stand up and present a speech, or if you were to do a speech at a function or somewhere else, normally you have thought that through and you've done some kind of writing where you have that prepared. So in a speech format, you would do a very similar process, because you need to know where you got the information from. You have to do a revise and re-edit it. So you have to think about how you joined everything together. So a speech writing could follow the same thing. But debate, normally we would not do the same thing. As far as the other question, as far as writing without a main point, normally that type of writing is very difficult to follow, because it normally does not have a direction or purpose, and so often it's just, we say it just kind of goes around, and so we don't really know where you're going. So most of the time, if someone writes without a specific direction or purpose, the writing quality is not the same. So there is a definite advantage to knowing your topic, knowing why you're doing it, having a direction and a purpose, and people will read that much more than one that might be disorganized. So again, if you go back to the purpose, why are you writing anything? The purpose for you writing something is that you want someone to benefit from it or to communicate something that you have studied or researched. And so if you are trying to communicate that and no one reads it, then you've not fulfilled your purpose in writing. And so it's better to be organized where people can follow and understand than in being disorganized.
Very good evening, respected sir, and ladies and gentlemen. Oh, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. So I have one wonderful question.
Okay.
It is my sub problem, or every student get this problem like me in daily life, especially in our university. Suppose our beautiful Madam Banerjee given one difficult topic to write one assignment. It is really compulsory to write an essay by each and every students. Yet, as for me, I can't write due to lack of the information on this topic. So during that critical time, what and how I can found any resolution to complete this article immediately?
Okay. So many of you have requirement to write during your semesters. Probably every class you have to write something. Even if it's not in English, you have to write. Correct? So what you have to do is go through the same process. You need to choose a topic. Once you choose your topic, sometimes it's given to you, sometimes you have to choose it. If you are given it, then that takes out some of the work for you. It makes it more easy. Because if you have been given a topic, you know what you have to research. You can find pretty much everything you want through the library and the internet. Again, what you have to do is you have to say, okay, which resources am I going to use? Because now it's not a matter of I cannot find the information. You'll have too much information. So if you really do your research, you'll have more information than you know what to do with. Now you have to choose which information am I actually going to use. But in what you're missing in writing is you have to be creative and put into your own words, not just from someone else. You have to think and say, they have done this, they have said this, but maybe there's something different, maybe there's something more. So you have to, we say you have the critical thinking ability. You have to take all this information and think for yourself, formulate opinions and ideas from what you have researched, and then you put that into your own words. You can only reference a little bit from someone else. We cannot reference much from someone else. Most of what we write have to come from our own words. And so that's the struggle that you'll have. you know, if you do the research, you'll find the information. Now it's just putting it into your own words and your thoughts. Right?
Due to the time's constraint, we have to conclude this lecture here. And before that, here we have a small gift for Ms. Chapman. One is a magazine, and another is a book. Magazine is our school magazine in which the students who write in essays in Tibetans, and another book of which is a collections of many articles who spoke on the workshop. Okay, thank you very much.